see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face.
Oh, I'm from Brooklyn.
Hey, guys, any...
You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host, Keith Angle, on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everybody. Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talk right here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. We are also live on Zodiac TV today, so welcome those viewers as well. You can also catch us always, as you guys know, on Facebook, on YouTube. You can catch us on all the podcast channels that you can think of, iHeartRadio, Spotify, all of those places. So if you can't find us here someday, you can listen to us on your, I don't know, iPods. Do they still have those? I don't even know. Guys, what a gorgeous morning here in East Greenbush, New York. We're still... Well, we'll always be the first live streaming webcast, sports webcast from East Greenbush, New York, and I think we're still the only one. Keep claiming it until somebody tells me to stop. Maybe that's why Facebook shut me down. We'll never know. It'll always be a mystery. But it's a beautiful morning. It's going to get hot, so we decided to do the show outside and spend some time outdoors while we can this morning. Great day yesterday. A lot of hard work in the yard and out, as you may have seen, to Longhorn Steakhouse. What a great meal, guys. Awesome meal. Good place to check out if you're in the Albany area at some point. Oh, gosh. Let's see. I want to thank my guest from Friday, Pete Corrado, the author of From Hang Time to Prime Time, basically the business, entertainment, and the birth of the modern day NBA. Guys, what a great conversation we had. What a great book. Really is a great book. Get out and get it. Pete sent me some more information. I promised to get up on the TGI Sports Talk web Facebook page, and I will do that. I can promise you. So thanks to Pete for that. Next week's show on Friday, I don't know. We had somebody back out of an interview, so I'm still working on a guest for Friday. You could be stuck with just me. I don't know yet. But I'll try to make it as entertaining as possible if it is just me for some reason. Who's here? Good morning, Drew. You're the first one in the room today, or at least the first comment. We got a few people here, obviously. Dave Guyette, you got beat out today by Drew. Good to see you, Drew. Listen, guys, I know I don't have all of my football pickers here. Bill Pulver's here. Good morning, Bill Pulver. So we have two of them. We're making some plans to finally get our happy hour, football happy hour scheduled. I think we're going to be okay for a Friday afternoon. I'll come up with a date soon, or now we'll start trying to work on a date soon. I do have to explain to Mark the rules. He seems to think it's every Friday happy hour on TGI Sports Talk. I'm not sure how many tequilas, margaritas he may have had when he made that comment. But we'll straighten him out anyway. What do we got going on here? Good grief. Billy's correcting his spelling. Good morning, Rick Sherlock. How are you today? Dave Guyette is here. Good morning, Dave. How are you today? Good to see you. Mark buying. Yeah. I got to tell you, it's dangerous to go out with Mark. Last time I was out, we hadn't been together for dinner in a while. We went to, oh, God, I can never remember the place. Toro Cantina, new place on Wolf Road. Great place. But we had our own happy hour, happy 45 minutes or so before dinner, and the bar bill was $160 before we sat down for dinner. So bad business. Anyway, guys, today we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. We got to talk about NHL hockey. I've got Jim Beringer coming up here in just a few minutes, hopefully, to kind of get us up to date on the playoffs and talk about the series that are going on now. Been a lot of exciting stuff going on with the Islanders beating the Penguins and the Islander Bruins series now. Obviously, the Winnipeg Jets, Billy's favorite team, because I think he roots for anybody that is called the Jets. It is going to be a hot one today for sure. Amanda Croft. I'm not sure what that comment's about, but hopefully Jim will be joining us in a minute, and I'll ask him what that's about. It's going to be one hot day for sure. Sean said first round shots on him. I did see that. So this could turn into an Uber day. So anyway, we're going to talk about the NHL playoffs. We're going to talk about the NBA playoffs. Unfortunately, the Knicks are out. Did not play well in their first round series, but we'll dive into that a little bit as well as obviously the series that are continuing. We'll have some Major League Baseball talk. A couple of things in the NFL that have caught my eye, I guess, and we continue to talk about my favorite player, Aaron Rodgers, and I know Rick Sherlock's favorite player, Aaron Rodgers. And we'll talk a little bit about a couple other things. Coach K obviously retiring, maybe the Belmont a little bit. I might have some more comments on bad behavior in sporting events because it continues to be an epidemic. But we'll talk more about it as we go along. So, again, I hope you guys are all doing well today. Looks like we got a lot of our regular crew here today, so I want to welcome you. We'll get that date planned for the I'm not sure about Sean and the shots. I assumed we would have a few beers, but it'll be what it'll be. Those that want to partake in whatever is offered are certainly willing to do so. One beer for me. Yeah, well, the problem is you're going to have people all over the countryside, Rick. I don't think you're going to be able to beat the DT for that. So I'll keep you guys abreast. I set up that group chat so that we could do that. Have that conversation, and I think we're pretty much set for a Friday, and now I'll work on the date. I'll send another text or message this afternoon trying to set that up. So as we wait for Jim Beringer, let me talk a little bit about I still want to know what Jim Beringer's message was about with Amanda. I'm not sure what that was about. AA meetings. Well, guys, here's the thing. I plan on going live that day too. So everybody be at your best behavior or your worst behavior, whatever it is, because maybe your worst behavior will get us, if not banned from Facebook, it'll get us maybe, gosh, what do you call it? Good grief. Oh, viral. Maybe we'll go viral. Maybe we'll also get some money out of BJ's that day if we spend some money. Well, I'll spend some money anyway. It'll be fun for sure. We're going to have a lot of fun that day. Who's this we got here? Buck Flair, Tampa Bay Lightning. Will they repeat? It's possible. They were my favorite to repeat, Buck. I can tell you that. We'll talk to Jim Beringer about that. Jim Beringer from the Last Word on Hockey, obviously, in just a few minutes, hopefully. And we'll get his thoughts on what they're doing. I believe they're up 3-1 now on the Hurricanes, so they're going to be certainly moving on, it looks like, to the next round. And it's tough to knock off the defending champions, but teams don't repeat in the NHL that much, so we'll see how that goes. And it looks like, as we say that, got to find your little banner here. The only problem being outside is I cannot see what's going on. Looks like I got it now. Let's bring in Jim Beringer. Good morning, Jim Beringer.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I am doing fabulous. It's a beautiful day here in upstate New York. I'm not sure how it is where you are. Probably going to be a hot one where you are, I'm assuming.
It's a beautiful day. It's a hot one indeed here in Dumont, New Jersey. It is. It's hot. I literally got up probably about 20 minutes ago. I got home late last night from the Coliseum. That place was rocking. I can't wait to tell you about it.
I can't wait to hear. Before we get started, I gotta know. I saw you posted a comment, and I didn't know what the context is.
Oh, it's one of my friends that so she can watch the.
Oh, you tagged her. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
Good.
she could so she can watch.
Awesome.
She's had a hard time finding stuff, so I wanted to tag her in it to make sure that she could watch the show. So shout out to Amanda.
Excellent.
Watches everything I do, so
Well,
I appreciate the support.
Hopefully Amanda's here, and thanks for joining us. And she found her way here. Gosh, it's been a pretty eventful playoff. I'm having trouble today myself. A playoff event up until now. We'll call it that, Jim, with some I guess upsets in the first round, but I don't know if there were really upsets like the Islanders over the Penguins. I don't know if you can really even call it an upset, but
I mean, look, everybody can call. I would maybe the only one maybe you could really call an upset is Winnipeg over Edmonton, just because of where everything was. But even what I've been saying is you shouldn't really been sleeping on Winnipeg because they were playing well and then they had injuries and they had to move back. I mean, I guess also in that division you could say Montreal over Toronto because Toronto was up 3-1. They were the better team in the regular season and they were the better team. Thanks, Rick. Thanks for the shout out. I appreciate it. They were the better team in the most of the series, but Montreal found a way, started playing their game, playing like the team that they were at the beginning of the year. Tampa was misseeded. They had injuries. Kucherov wasn't out, and they played Florida. I wasn't trusting Florida as a second seed.
Yeah, I wouldn't say,
Boston was the hottest team coming into the playoffs besides Nashville, and they were poorly. They weren't a third seed either. So, I mean, 2-3 matchups is like those 8-9, 4-5 seeds we see in NCAA tournament. I mean, are they really upset? The teams are supposed to be so evenly matched that you could see it. And Boston was a better team against Washington. Tampa was a better team against Florida. Islanders against Pittsburgh, 1-4 matchup there. I don't even call that an upset because the Islanders were the better team in the series, and Pittsburgh really didn't trust their goaltending.
But how much did the Malkin injury hurt the Penguins? You think it? I mean, now that we know about it, I don't think we even knew it about it until after it was over, which is kind of interesting. But
well, what I'm curious to know is whether Sidney Crosby was hurt because the dude only had 2 points in the series. Malkin had 5 points since he came back in Game 3. Jeff Carter led scoring for Pittsburgh. I mean, it played a factor, but he still got 5 points in the series. Your goaltending is what let them down. Tristan Jarry, bad turnover in double overtime to Josh Bailey in Game 5 pretty much changed the series. The Islanders made a great adjustment going to Ilya Sorokin in that series when he probably shouldn't even have left the net after Game 1, but because your starter's back, fine. Then they have to flip-flop against Boston that Varlamov's back in against the Bruins because he has a better record. And Sorokin, so that's a nice piece that Barry Trotz has, that he can go to two guys like that, something that the Penguins didn't have, and they're going to have to address in the offseason because they have to figure out who their goaltending is going to be because Tristan Jarry and Casey DeSmith just couldn't get it done, and they couldn't get a save or two when they really needed to.
There's the shot at the New Jersey fans, apparently, from Flair. Listen, we kind of talked about the Islanders and Winnipeg when we talked about the run-up to the playoffs and that they might be, make a potential run here. One of my regulars, Bill Pulver, I know he's a big Winnipeg Jets fan, but I think it might just be because they're called the Jets and because he's a New York Jets fan. I'm not quite positive about that, but they certainly have played well, but now they're down 2-0 in this series. So Montreal's playing very well. We talked about them before the playoffs getting hot too, as well. Yeah,
I mean, look, Winnipeg had 8 days off. They didn't really play their A game in Game 1. They fell behind the 8 ball early. Montreal was coming off a 7-game series. You knew that was going to happen. It was surprised that Colorado didn't have the same struggles, but Vegas just looked tired from Minnesota. And now Vegas is starting to play their game against Colorado as well. But Colorado's looking still pretty good in capper seat. But if it wasn't for a couple of plays here and there, they could be down 2-1. But as far as Montreal, they're playing a really good game right now, playing tight defensive hockey, just dumping pucks in, getting it deep. getting the shots and making the most opportunities. Now, I will say what hurts the Jets again for the second year in a row in the playoffs, which is the potential loss of Mark Scheifele. Last year Mark Scheifele was injured last year against Calgary with the Matthew Tkachuk and everything with the skate. That changed that team. Now he's suspended for 3 more games after he served his first game suspension in Game 2. He has a 4-game suspension for his hit on Jake Evans. That could potentially cost the Jets this series because their power play just doesn't look the same and their line combinations. They played a better game too, but Carey Price in the playoffs is money. This guy looks like he's playing like 2014 Carey Price, and the Canadians could be a team that could go all the way. If you want to say they can, fine, that's great. But, you can't play, as one person put this to me, you can't play Jake Allen the entire regular season and hope you get in so Carey Price can play for you in the playoffs. He's got to start to get better in the regular season.
What's it going to look like? And good morning to Mickey Delaney for popping in this morning early out there in the state of Washington. We'll get to the Abs in a second. Oh gosh, what was I going to say? I totally lost my train of thought. So we're talking about Winnipeg and
Montreal. Yeah. And you said, what's it going to look like?
Oh, that's what it was. So what's it going to look like? Are we set yet? Are the Canadian teams coming to the U.S. to play? Are we going back and forth, or are they going to come here and stay?
So my understanding is, and multiple reports out there, Darren Drager was the first one to report this, and I followed up with this with a couple people I know, that the American team will be exempt, same with the Canadian team, to cross the border during the conference semifinals, so they don't have to avoid the quarantine. They can go back and forth.
Well, that'll be good for the Canadian teams for sure, and not having to play all the games here in the U.S., I guess.
They'll have limited fans, of course. Montreal has 2,500 at the Bell Center tonight and tomorrow. And then Winnipeg had about 500 people there for games 1 and 2. So, slowly and surely they're getting fans back. It's not like what I saw last night in the Coliseum when it was about, 13,000 people back in a building for the first time since this thing started, which was a great experience to say the least. I hadn't been to a live hockey game since February of 2020 in Philadelphia when the Rangers were playing the Flyers. The atmosphere last night was something you only can experience the Coliseum. It's really something special. That place was rocking. When Barzell scored to make it 2-1 against Boston, I thought the roof was going to come off the building. They were loud from the moment. Before the puck even started, they were jacked and ready for playoff hockey.
Are all the U.S. teams going to be back close to full capacity here soon or not?
They're pretty close to it. I know Tampa's got it pretty close to a full house. Carolina's, if Carolina's pretty much got close to a full house too. I know they say like 13,000, whatever, but if the fire marshal's not watching, they're probably packing a couple thousand people in as well to fill that place up. Vegas is close to capacity. Colorado's pretty close. So I know Boston's pretty close to full capacity as well. So pretty much all the U.S. teams are back to full capacity buildings here for the Stanley Cup playoffs. And that's what makes the playoffs so good. Last night, I normally don't see a lot of fights, heavy hitting. You see the heavy hits, but you really don't see the fights in the playoffs. A lot of fights last night in the first period between Boston and the Islanders. And like I said, the fans were ready. They were jacked once the Islanders sealed the deal. They were going nuts the whole way home. And it's something about the Coliseum. It gets to live one more day. Game 6 against Boston is Wednesday night. So it gets to see one more game at least. And the fans are hoping for at least another series.
Yeah, it's been a good series right so far, 2-2 now. And again, the Islanders continue to surprise. They're either really good or really bad. I thought they were going the wrong way momentum-wise heading into the playoffs, and they just turned it right around.
Well, the Islanders were built like Montreal was built for the playoffs. They play that, they just clog that neutral zone, play good, tight defensive hockey. They make the most of their opportunities. They're going to get pucks deep. They're going to forecheck hard. And that's what they did against Boston yesterday. They limited the chances in front of Varlamov, who was a little shaky, not as confident as He should have been on some of those saves, but they limited the second and third chance opportunities. Now, I will say, David Pastrnak had a wide open net in the first period that could have changed this game, and he hit the goalpost. I mean, he could have walked it across the line. That's how wide open it was. And he knew it. He just laid his head on the ice. But give credit to the Islanders not going away after a power play goal. And then Kyle Palmieri ties the game. I liked it. And, again, the place was awesome. It was good to be back at live hockey.
Good question from Rick Sherlock. Going back to the suspension, do you think it's excessive for a guy without that type of history?
All right. So I've talked about this hit a lot. I don't think it's excessive. I thought it was going to be 2 to 4 games, to be honest. Now, we can all talk about the distance he traveled. Everybody talks about the distance he traveled. Jake Evans made the same distance and beat out everybody. To me, the hit was unnecessary to make. When he drove through him, he did. The thing is, he didn't try to play the puck. He's like, I was trying to break up a scoring chance. No, you didn't. You just played the body. You didn't even try to play the puck. Mm-hmm. And everybody's going to talk about, new NHL soft. This is clean hit back in the day. The guy went up with his elbow through the head. If he just went through the body, it's fine. But he took Jake Evans out, and the result, unfortunately, the result is what got Scheifele the 4-game suspension. And yes, he traveled a long way, and I hear, he glided. Okay, if he glided, then he had to make a better decision to come in instead of just going through Evans. During the third period, Scheifele was very reckless throughout that period. He was just looking to hit somebody. Jake Evans was the guy he hit. Everybody's going to say, Evans shouldn't have had his head up, shouldn't see it coming. I'm sorry, but if you've played on a wraparound, your head is kind of down. You're looking at the net. You're not looking at your surroundings. It was an unnecessary blindside hit that Evans didn't see coming, and that's why he got 4 games. Most would have said 2 games, because of what we've seen already. But again, the end result of Evans going out on a stretcher is what got him 4 games.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think back. There's not a lot of these, at least long suspensions, that I can remember in the playoffs in the NHL. But you would know better than I. Is there precedent for this?
Well, I mean, if you look at it, Reeves only got 2 games. Wilson got 2 games for what he did. But Kadri got 8 games for his hit in the first round on Jaden Schwartz.
Okay,
So
good point.
And if you go back, Dale Hunter got like 35 games for his hit on Turgeon, and it goes back. But the thing is with the Kadri suspension is he appealed it. At this point, he might as well just sit the rest of the games because he's already missed 6 games. What is he going to get a game back? Yeah. I mean, like, dude, you should just take your suspension and go. I understand, his reasons and stuff. And Scheifele made, some good points too when he was talking in his press conference. But unfortunately, in today's game, you cannot make those hits. And then, as somebody put it to me, the NHL will not do anything about it unless somebody gets killed or somebody gets seriously injured.
You got a nickname on the show now, so you're really you're a full-time guy now, the Ringmaster. Apparently.
The Ringmaster.
Billy Pulver is the king of our nicknames on the team for our regular.
The Ringmaster. I feel like I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin circa 1996 in WWF. The Ringmaster. I haven't heard that name in a while.
Let's move on to the Avs and Vegas, because I know that Buck had a couple of questions about that. The Avs are up 2-1 in that series. How do you see things going forward here?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, Vegas really could be up 2-1. They've outplayed the Avalanche in the last 2 games after they threw away game 1 where the Avalanche dominated. Avalanche have blown 2-0 leads in these last 2 games to allow Vegas back in. They're not putting their foot on the gas pedal. Grubauer's played really well for the Avalanche, but in Game 3, he gave up a pretty bad goal at the end to to give Vegas the victory. Pacioretty, Stone looking good. They're starting to play good hockey in front of Marc-Andre Fleury. Fleury's unbelievable. He's having a renaissance year. He's nominated for the Vezina this year. So is Grubauer, and they've had both unbelievable seasons. The Avalanche got to stop blowing leads. They got to play smart hockey, get back to what they did best. The Avalanche desperately, as much as you don't think they need Nazem Kadri, they need Nazem Kadri. That second line center, they need him back in this lineup because if you, like with Boston years ago, we always said that they were a one-line team. Well, the Avalanche are a one-line team when you don't have depth. So if you could stop Mikko Rantanen, Gabriel Landeskog, and Nathan McKinnon, who finds a way to take it to another level in the Stanley Cup playoffs, you're going to have success against that team.
Yeah.
Obviously, they have their back end, Cale Makar, Samuel Girard, Bowen Byram. The list goes on. They have a really good team. But if you have Kadri on your second line, now you have depth down, and that's what makes the Avalanche so dangerous.
Yeah, Buck does make a good point. You just can't give up. You can't continue to let your goalie take 40 shots a game and expect to win games consistently, I don't think.
Yeah, they got to start putting the puck in the net more consistently. Like, I know they wrote up the score in game one, but they got to. The Avalanche power play is very deadly, like that. Like the Tampa Bay power play is very deadly, which Carolina found out about on Saturday night when they were up 4-2 in the second period, and they just let power play after power play after power play happen, and then all of a sudden the Lightning are leading 5-4 and the game's over at 6-4. So and that was a turning point if Carolina doesn't win the series and Tampa Bay wins it. But it feels like those teams are on a collision course, Colorado and Tampa. But then again, you never know what happens in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You just don't know.
Actually, it's since you brought up Tampa, do you see the Hurricanes with any chance? I know the Bucket asked early on, which I can't find his comment now, but he asked if you thought that the Tampa Bay would repeat. It's hard to repeat in the NHL for sure. Any sport is hard to repeat, but I like them from the outset, and I still do myself right now.
I still like Tampa until somebody beats them. They're still the champs. I mean, I think Carolina maybe gets a game back at home, game 5, and then Tampa Bay goes home, closes it out in 6. I mean, Tampa just looks so good. They're so deep, and having Kucherov back for the playoffs is such a difference maker. He just drives everything. Braden Point, the goal scorers find ways to score goals, and that, like I said, that power play is just so deadly. They're so good, that team, and they are on a mission to repeat. Like Colorado's on a mission to win it. Tampa Bay, it just looks so good. It is so hard to repeat because you have to find adversity somewhere, and they have, because they haven't played without their best player the whole year. And now Kucherov's back, and the team is just on another level. Andrei Vasilevsky, another Vezina finalist, stands on his head again.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I think, as I said, you mentioned, I think it will be Tampa Bay against Colorado. Again, anything can happen. I think the only two teams right now that don't have a shot to win it probably are probably the Jets because of their situation, and obviously the Hurricanes. But even there, they might turn things around. You never know. You
don't know. I mean, that's why you play 7 games. Like we thought Vegas was going to wrap it up in 5 games against Minnesota. Probably should have.
Yeah.
But, Minnesota come back and make it a series. So you just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, look, everybody, you never know. Say Montreal closes out the series, does their thing. You're telling me Carey Price can't steal another series in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Like I said, anything can happen in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Usually the better teams come, but you always have a surprise finalist somewhere along the way. It's not like the NBA or any other sport where you don't usually see the 2 best teams play in the Stanley Cup final. It's rare that you see it. I remember obviously when Detroit and Pittsburgh played back to back, maybe you get Chicago, Boston. I think at 13, those were probably, you could say, the 2 best teams in the league. I remember Colorado, New Jersey, 2 best teams in the league.
Yeah.
But you always see a team that makes the final, and you're like, heck, how'd they get there? But it happens.
What about just to get away from the playoffs for a second? What's the news you hear on the Rangers and what's going on with their coaching situation?
So much information going on with the Rangers. They interviewed Gerard Gallant before the World Championships over in Latvia. They've given Rick Tocchet a second interview. They've looked at him, he former Coyotes coach. They're looking at, a bunch of guys. They may even, I've heard Jack Capuano's name thrown out there for what he's done with Team USA over at the Worlds. There are a lot of guys. They believe they can win now. Okay, if you can believe you're going to win now, then add the pieces and get the right guy to play for you.
Right.
But if you add like a Rick Tocchet or a similar style guy to Dan Quinn, okay, then what do we go through this exercise for? Because it feels like they were looking for a scapegoat in somebody. It's not as bad as it is up in Buffalo, where apparently everybody wants out. And Columbus, Seth Jones wants out. But it's good to see JD back in Columbus. They'll get stability over there. But the Rangers coaching is just weird because they gotta find the right guy if they believe they're gonna win now.
But does that mean they bring a guy like Tortorella in here and take a shot right now, or that's he's burned all his bridges? No,
you don't bring John Tortorella back. I'm sorry. I'm of the opinion, and I've talked to a couple people, that's the wrong move. Mm-hmm. A lot of people keep telling when I say Tortorella, wrong move. You have explosive players. It works for 2 to 3 years. But then the guys that want to play offense don't want to play defense anymore and are tired of blocking shots. You can't do it. You see it around the league. Yes, defense wins. You want to have good defensive hockey, but you need to score goals. That's like the Islanders. Yeah, they got 4 goals last night. 2 were empty netters. But I could tell you, watching that game live and watching them all season, they still have an issue scoring goals when they just try to play defense. You need to score in the league to win, but obviously you need to balance that out with good defense. But Tortorella is not the guy because the young guys are just gonna certain guys are just gonna want out after a while, and the Rangers they're building it the right way.
You mentioned Buffalo, since we're talking about some New York teams here, and some guys wanting out. Is there any chance they can dig out of this huge hole? They obviously won the lottery and got the first pick in the draft, which does help.
It was funny. I saw somebody on Twitter be like that whoever is going first, like right now, Owen Powers is ranked first overall in the draft stuff. Somebody's like, yo, Owen Powers already wants out of Buffalo. I'm like, oh, too early. Come on, man. That's too early for that.
What about, while we're talking about it, I guess, and we'll dive more into this when we get together again, maybe before the draft. With the new expansion, Seattle Kraken. Love the name, by the way.
Love the name. Great name.
Isn't that awesome? Having the number 2 pick in the draft, is there any chance? And I know that it was the stars had to align for the Golden Knights. I mean, is there any chance we see that kind of success in Seattle out of the gate?
I mean, anything is possible. I think I told you this on the show. Maybe I didn't. I've said it a million times to people. The NHL wanted Vegas to succeed.
Yeah,
they were the first team, professional sports team in Vegas. Now, George McPhee and everybody out there knew who they were looking at. They had a year to look at the players. They knew who the coach was going to be. They brought in their guys. Ron Fance is a good hockey guy. He knows who he already wants. There's certain guys, like a guy, I think it's Tyler Johnson in Tampa. He's probably not going to be in Tampa. He'll probably be up in Seattle. Probably worst kept secret, like Marc-Andre Fleury to Vegas was.
Yeah.
Do I see Seattle, being a playoff team? No. That doesn't mean it won't happen. I didn't think Vegas was going to be a playoff team either. And they went on this incredible run. Now, will they go on a Vegas run? I don't think so. But could they compete for a playoff spot in that West Division? Sure they could. Do they think they're going to do it? No. Unless Russell Wilson plays hockey.
Well, he plays baseball. I don't know about hockey.
I don't think he plays hockey. But but like Seattle, they're going to get a good draft pick. They're picking number 2 overall. They're going to get some good players out of this thing. Like I said, you only can protect a certain amount of guys. Goalie, defenseman, and 7 players. So it's not, they're going to have a good crop of players to have on their team. It's not like when Minnesota, Nashville, Columbus, all those teams came in and they were just getting the misfit toys of the the group. You're picking and choosing who you want, and Vegas is exempt from this. So they're pretty much having their whole team back.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting.
Vegas doesn't have to protect anybody.
Nope. They have their team. They're exempt from the expansion draft.
I guess they do want them to succeed out there.
Yep. But as far as what's going on in Buffalo, Jack Eichel, Rasmus Ristolainen are probably two guys that are probably not going to be on the Sabres. Maybe Sam Reinhart too. They got to figure out what's going on up there. I mean, look, the Pagulas are really good owners. They let the Buffalo Bills, general manager, and start to do the right things. Like, let's be less hands-on and let the hockey guys run the hockey and bring in the right hockey people to run this team, because everybody in upstate New York wants a winner.
Yeah.
Buffalo has a good history of hockey.
Yeah.
They were in the final. They had good teams in the 2000s with Drury and Briere. That's a market you want to succeed. There's a good fan base up there. Sabres fans are very passionate about hockey. They really are. But I don't see this Eichel situation being resolved. I really don't. I don't think he's on the Sabres next year. It's unfortunate to say that, but I think there's just too much bad blood, and I think a change of scenery for him, the way he's talked in the media, the way he's come out, I think he just wants out. Same with a bunch of other guys. They're just going to have to just figure out, who they want to be there. Guys going to want to play. Now, speaking of coaches, Donato up there, I thought he did a really good job back end of the second half. Guys like Casey Middlestat benefited from that. I think they really should give him a look, maybe a year or two, just to see, this team played well under him. It would be unfair that if he didn't really get a good hard look during the coaching interviews.
Yeah. Any other news of import we should know about right now, you think, Jim, that we haven't talked about today?
I mean, not really too much big news out there. Obviously all the finalists are being announced for the awards at the end of the year. That's coming out. Really nothing too big out there right now. Obviously everybody's focused on the playoffs.
Yeah, I think we'll probably get you in. If we don't get you in next week, we'll bring you in every couple of weeks, maybe it'll be every week if you're available as we get into the meat of the playoffs now.
We'll be looking at conference semifinals potentially starting soon as we flip the calendar, as we're heading towards I can't believe I'm about to say like mid to end of June for the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm so used
hard to believe, right?
I used to think the series, usually the Stanley Cup's being awarded right now. But yeah, if I'm around, definitely come in and we'll talk some hockey. This has been fun. Like I said last night, to be back for first hockey game in Nassau Coliseum, and my first one in live in-person game since 2020, February of 2020. It was awesome, and it was a great night.
Well, I'm glad you got to enjoy that, Jim. You bring a lot of information to the show. As Billy Pulver said, you're the ringmaster now.
The ringmaster, that's it. I think he gave me another nickname too. I think he's given me
he probably did. He's the king. He's the king of the nicknames.
He gave me a bunch of nicknames. So
he also roots for teams. In every sport, he roots for about 6 different teams. Because he's got kids living everywhere, and he roots for wherever they live. And
all right, well, I guess that's fair. I usually just pick a team, but hey, you know what? I can't really talk because I have some other teams outside the Devils. Like, I like to root for a bunch of the Canadian teams to succeed. So, absolutely, Rick. Anytime, give me the nicknames. I like these. The ringmaster, Billy. Whatever.
Billy will like Seattle. His son lives in Seattle. That's why he's going to love the Kraken.
Well, but before we get out, who doesn't like that name though?
It's awesome.
It's a great name, Kraken. Like I love it.
It's awesome. Just imagine the commercial possibilities with that. It's going to be awesome.
The gear's already selling out, so that's a good thing.
Excellent, Jim. Listen, thanks for your time. I know you got to run, so thanks for giving us an update, and we'll have you in probably consistently from now till when this ends on Labor Day.
Sounds good, man.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Have a great Sunday.
Talk to you soon. You too. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Jim Beringer from The Last Word on Hockey always brings it to the table. Great stuff. I guess he's still looking, as I am, at the Tampa Bay and Avs final. And I like Tampa Bay to repeat. But I'll tell you what. Don't count out the Islanders. They've played some very good hockey. Hot goaltenders, man, make all the difference in the playoffs, and their switch has really paid off. So, and also you can't count out Vegas, obviously, either. Unfortunately, the one of the teams that I did like early on, and Billy will like this. And I know I didn't say it with a lot of authority, but I thought Winnipeg could make a run. Probably not the Cup, but I thought they would actually win a couple series, and they could come back here. It's going to be tough though, playing shorthanded against the Canadians, who are red hot. So again, great stuff. The NHL, it's really exciting right now at this time of year. So we thank Jim for bringing us that information. Let's see. I guess we got no more comments. And if I missed any comments, I apologize, guys. It's hard. I love that you guys comment. And I try to get as many of those up as I can. And I think I got most of them. Buck, I know I might have missed a couple of yours, and I try to go back to the ones that were relevant, at least to the conversation that we're having. So if I missed any, I apologize. It's even harder when I'm outside because I can't quite see. And I do like to see what I put up, read it before I put it up. Now, you guys are really good, by the way. I probably don't need to worry about that so much. But sometimes if it's off topic, what the guest is talking about, it throws them. As you saw when Jim, a couple times we had some comments that didn't seem to be on topic, but that's my fault. But you guys do a really good job with the topics or the questions, and I don't have to really questions and comments, and I don't really have to worry about what you're putting up there. So I thank you for that. And a lot of shows don't have that. They've got to worry all the time about what guys are going to say. So I don't have that problem with you guys. All right, we're going to move on to the NBA now, guys, and then we'll do some Major League Baseball after that. I don't know. I probably chased you out by talking NBA and NHL first, but it is the heart of the playoffs, and I feel that's the way we got to go. So let me jump into the NBA, get my notes together here. So look at last night, only one game, and the Nets, without James Harden in the lineup, interestingly enough, handily handled, bit redundant, the Bucks last night, 115-107. Durant was good. Irving was good. I hate to, I'm not a big Kyrie Irving fan, as you know, but I have to give credit where credit is due. He played well. The Nets have surprised me how cohesive they've been. Playing against the Celtics, who are depleted, and not the Celtics of the last few years, obviously. Big changes there, which we'll talk about in a second as well. But the Nets get out to the first one-game lead there by winning game one, which is always a good way to go. And they do have the home court advantage here, so kind of important they take game one here, or game two, I think, in my opinion. The other games in the East, obviously, Philadelphia handled Washington very well. They'll be playing Atlanta, who knocked out the Knicks, and we'll talk a little bit about the Knicks in a second. I'll tell you what, in this Atlanta-Philadelphia series, I really give Atlanta a puncher's chance because this team can flat out put the ball in the basket, and they played much better defense than I thought they could against the Knicks. Now, the Knicks helped them out by really by really playing out of their game or off their game. They didn't do what they did during the regular season. They didn't move the basketball. They didn't find the open man. They didn't play good defense, and they didn't play cohesively. Their bench didn't play well. Burks had one big game and then fell apart. And I feel bad because I told Rick Sherlock after, he was so down on the NBA and I guess the Knicks in particular, perhaps with a comment from last week, he said, give him another chance. Well, they sucked that night. And they played one good half of basketball the entire series. Not going to get it done this time of year, guys. And look, this team, and we'll talk about it now a little bit since we're on the topic. This team, just check and see what we got going on here. Embiid missing a big factor. I agree, Drew. Embiid, again, Rivers is not committing to the fact whether he's going to play game one or not. I believe that game is today. today. Let's take a quick look at the schedule coming up here. If I can get my cursor going. You know, the other problem with being outside is sometimes it's a little hard to see what the hell I'm doing. But I like being out here. I hope you guys enjoy the experience of me outside, because I do. When did they start? Sunday, today, 5 o'clock. I think, Blake turned back the clock. Oh, not sure where that goes. Blake is you know what? He accepted his role on this team. And I'll go back. Well, since I missed these comments, let me go back to these real quick and we'll come back to Drew's comments. Yeah, Drew's here. Good to see you, Drew. Blake has turned back the clock. And one thing I really like about Blake Griffin is that he came in here and he accepted his role on this team. Same thing happened with Aldridge before he had to, unfortunately retire due to his health issues. These guys have come in here and accepted a role because they want to. I think they want to win. So that's an awesome thing. Great job by Blake Griffin turning back the clock, as you guys said. Good call. Back to the Atlanta series. This team, Nate McMillan's done a great job, and I cannot see how they're probably not going to name him the permanent coach. I don't believe they have yet. But look I've stuck up for Tom Thibodeau the entire year, and it's obviously Carlos is not here today. Mickey Delaney, yes. They are playing today, 1 o'clock. Actually, I had 1 o'clock. Sorry, couldn't read it. I thought it said 5. It's probably a good thing Carlos isn't here. I'd have to eat some crow, at least for this series. Tom Thibodeau still was a right hire. Tom Thibodeau did a great job with the Knicks. Winning 41 games in a 72-game season, which in a season where nobody projected them to win more than 21 games. You can't discount the culture change that he has brought to the organization. But they didn't carry over to the playoffs for whatever reason. He stuck with Peyton too long because he didn't want to play Rose. He didn't want to start Rose. And Rose ended up playing too many minutes because he wore down. He played great first half of the series, but then he fell apart game 5 specifically. Randall played terrible. And I give the Hawks credit because they took Randall off the off the spots on the floor that he wanted to be. And to Randall's credit, he still played hard, still went to the board, still had some assists. Get a lot of assists for a big man, always has, and he did it in the playoffs. Maybe not in game 4 and 5. He did early in the series when his shot was off, but things were just out of sync, and they weren't able to get back into sync. And that's unfortunate for the Knicks. I'll jump back to the Knicks in a second. Let's finish on the playoff conversation here. Let's go out west. We still have game 7 of Dallas and the Clippers. Been a great series. Unbelievable that it's even got to game 7 because it looked like the Clippers were dead in the water when they lost the first 2 games at home. The Mavs played great. The Clippers have fought back and really, really have played some really good basketball the last 4 games, or at least 3 of the last 4 games. It's going to be interesting to see who gets there, and Utah waits for the winner. I like Utah to be able to defeat whoever wins this series. Utah is just, I think, really deep and really well coached, and I think that's where the difference is going to come. We're going to talk a little bit about these teams that are left here in a second. The Knicks will be back. I agree. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. And then you've got Denver and Phoenix starting. Phoenix ended the Lakers season pretty handily the other night. I believe it was a 30-point defeat. Look at the Lakers. Excuses are what they are. I'm not going to make excuses for the Lakers, right? Injury problems. They're not that good past Davis, who, by the way, I think is a bit overrated, Anthony Davis. LeBron is not overrated. He's one of the top 2 players of all time. Regardless, the reason people don't like LeBron I don't believe are basketball related. he's carried several teams to championships that had no business being there, or at least to the finals that had no business being there, and in turn won. At least one with a team that didn't belong there. But that team has nobody, in my mind, past Davis, who I say is overrated, and LeBron. We could see this coming. There's no reason the Suns should have lost this series. Chris Paul is playing great basketball. I think Chris Paul's in a great place for him in Phoenix. He's the guy. He doesn't have to defer to anybody. He's the man. And he gets to play his brand of basketball, and I think that is huge. And I do think that Phoenix is going to beat Denver in this series, as well as Denver is playing. They've got Jokic, and look at he's very likely going to be the MVP if Embiid isn't. But I do still think Phoenix will win this. Monty Williams has done a tremendous job. And when the real coach of the year, he's been named coach of the year by I guess by the other coaches. I'm not sure what the award was that he won. It wasn't the official NBA award, but either he or Quinn Snyder, who's done a tremendous job, as I said, in Utah. And I do think that if the matchup, I think if they match up with the Clippers, he is head and shoulders above Lue. I'm not a Tyronn Lue fan as a coach. I really am not. But I do think that Dallas's coach, whose name is Carlisle, is certainly on par or better maybe than Quinn Snyder. He's a really good coach who's gotten some, again, flawed teams pretty far in the playoffs, including 2 championship games and winning them. Bill Pulver respects James up until his nasty tweet with no apology. Again, I don't get into that stuff so much. All I care about is how. Now, I don't only care about how they play. Obviously, people's character matters, but LeBron James is not a bad person. Look, he does some things that he probably should be quiet about, like all other athletes should. I think they all should be quiet about their political beliefs. And look at but I can separate the two, and I always will. Unless you're a bad character. And to me, bad character is somebody like, I don't know, Ray Lewis, who had 2 dead bodies end up around him. Aaron Hernandez, who had dead bodies laying all around him. Those are bad guys. Now, I will not get on guys. I have very strong political beliefs, guys. You'll never hear them here. But it doesn't matter to me whether I agree or disagree with anybody's beliefs, much less a ball player. He's entitled to believe what he wants. And he's got a forum you and I don't have. Okay. I'd rather not hear it, but I don't have to listen to it if I don't want to, if I disagree with it. We get wrapped up in this stuff way too much. It's funny. It's funny because, and this isn't directed at you, Billy, I promise. I constantly, when there's entertainment award shows, right? I've got to listen to people talk about how I don't care about what you think about this topic or you think about it. That's all we got to do is listen to their political statements. Well, I don't watch the award shows, number one. Actually, I do watch the country music awards and stuff because they don't do that. Well, number one, and there's a lot of entertainment besides just guys making political statements. But it's funny. I have to look at a barrage of them from people. The same people complain about every time George Clooney gets on or somebody gets on, they have to go on about their political beliefs. Well, I have to listen to that person day after day after day after day, the person who's making the post. They have the same right you do. I certainly don't see as many things from entertainers as I see from people that I know in real life. Well, you can call him a whiner. He's a great player. I don't know where Kenny is today. Maybe banned from Facebook. Speaking of political beliefs, I wouldn't have been geared at Kenny either. I'm not gearing it at anybody. Everybody's got a right to say what they want to say. I choose not to do it on Facebook. That's just me. I don't care that somebody does. That was my point in general. Just like my friends, I don't line up politically with all my friends. I don't dislike them because of what they think. That's their choice. So, and I don't do it with ball players. If they're a great ball player, LeBron James is a great ball player. You want to call him a whiner, call him whatever you want. He's one of the top 2 players ever to play the game. There's just no disputing that. The numbers say it. You can say, well, you can't say he's not one of the top 2 players because he's a whiner, right? So, again, anything else here about the NBA version of whiner? Same kind of, anyway. And guys, I understand. Look, it's not that I don't understand why you say those things. I do. I just don't get wrapped up in it. You know, the stuff off the field, or even some of the stuff on the field. Yeah. That's you gotta watch. I care about the sports, and I try to separate the two. I look at, there are times where I'm a hypocrite and I can't do it, but I do my best. Anyway, LeBron's out, so we don't care about him anymore anyway. Goodbye, LeBron. Enjoy your off season. You better get smart. What you ought to do, LeBron. What you ought to do, LeBron, is, take a GM class like Tom Brady. And what was I going to say? Take a GM class like Tom Brady and learn how to bring in better players to play with you. What else? What else in the NBA playoffs I want to chat about? I guess I want to predict these series that are coming up, right? I do think, I'm going to go on a limb and say Dallas will upset the Clippers today in Game 7, which will give us the Dallas against Utah. I'm going to take Utah in that series. I just like them better. I think I took Dallas to win this series in the beginning. I'll have to go back and look at the video tape. We'll see. But I do think Utah will beat either one of these teams. The Denver-Phoenix series, I like Phoenix. And I still like Utah to get to the final in the West. The East, a little more problematic. As Drew said before, Embiid missing is a big factor. If Joel Embiid is hampered or doesn't play, huge advantage for the Atlanta, obviously. And Atlanta's gaining some confidence, guys. I'm telling you, this team has played better defense than I thought they could play. And they got a lot of guys, not just Trae Young, who can fill it up. And the only game that they probably should have beat the Knicks in 4 games. They went ice cold in the second half of Game 2, which is a problem. If you're going to rely on your shooters, you go ice cold and you're going to be in trouble. But this team is going to throw a scare into Philadelphia, I think. I don't know if I'm willing to go out on a limb yet and say that they're going to win the series, but I do think they're going to make it a 6 or 7 game series. I will say that Philadelphia will probably win this if Embiid is even close to what he can do. Will not shake hands with team after losing. Not good sportsmanship. Tom Brady does the same thing sometimes. I talked about this before. I'm back on LeBron again. I don't disagree. I don't like it, but I don't get all wrapped up in it. Is it that big a deal? Guys shouldn't be your role models, guys. It shouldn't be your kids' role models. They just shouldn't be. I agree with Charles Barkley. Now, I tend to like guys of good character. But Tom Brady, I think doing that is not because they're bad sportsmen. I think they're wrapped up in the moment and just don't want to deal with anybody. You could say it's poor sportsmanship, and I won't disagree with you. But I don't think it's done maliciously. People say the same thing about Tom Brady. Sorry, he's not a bad character person, and neither is LeBron. Uh-oh. And Billy probably knew I was going to talk about Brady there. Oh, gosh, I don't know. Guys, there's so many things that we could get into with some of these stories, but I'm just not going to do it right now. I don't know. I try to stay away from that side of sports. I have to. It's part of it, unfortunately, but to me, it's still more important what happens on the field and on the court. Unless you're, again, if you've been part of a couple of murders, potentially, Facebook, I will say potentially, or literally in Aaron Hernandez's case, then you're a bad guy and you shouldn't be playing in the league. So we pick out some guys of all the bad acts. This has always been one of my big pet peeves with people getting on Tom Brady or people who would get on Derek Jeter back in the day. With all the really bad acts in sports, I mean really bad. Okay? The Ray Lewises, the Antonio Browns. In football, in baseball, nobody's coming directly to mind, but I'm sure I could come up with somebody if I thought hard enough. In basketball, there's been plenty of bad acts through the years. We tend to pick on guys who are not bad people, but they don't live life to the standard we think they should, or believe the same things we should. And again, their competitive nature sometimes makes them look unsportsmanlike or antisocial. I don't know. I prefer to spend my energy on, the guys who I think are really not good people, as opposed to Jokic, what'd I say? Jokic, I believe is his name. This kid is good, by the way. You like the kid on the Nuggets? I love him. Him or MB is going to be the MVP of the league. I'm almost positive, Billy. In my opinion. So anyway, back to these picks. Got a little off topic there. How are we doing for time? 10 o'clock? All right, good. We got to have time for baseball and some other stuff. So we're going to get through some more NBA here. The Nets and the Bucks. I think the Nets will win the series. As I said before, pleasantly surprised with how quickly the Nets have gotten cohesive after only playing 202 minutes as a group with their big three, Harden, Irving, and Durant, who, by the way, I love LeBron. I love LeBron's game. I don't love LeBron. Kevin Durant, when he's healthy, is the best player in basketball and has been for a while. Or at least he's one of the top two. And he's playing like it right now. Again, them being able to put it together. Now they've missed Harden, obviously, last night, but they didn't miss a beat without him. It's been very impressive. And I'm going to say it one more time. 202 minutes they played together. And guys say Steve Nash can't coach. He's a horrible coach, worst coach in the NBA. I heard all kinds of things. Obviously, he was brought in there because the players wanted him. Would Kenny Atkinson be winning with this team the way that Steve Nash is? I don't think he would be. But you can't tell me Steve Nash isn't doing any coaching. And you can't, not when his big three players have played 200 minutes together and they finished second in the East by game. And now they've easily handled Boston. They easily handled the Bucks in game one. Now the series is far from over. But Steve Nash is not getting his due. I've said this forever. I've gotten ridiculed. Every show I've gone on and said this, I've gotten ridiculed. And I don't know how you can say that he is not a good coach. Carlos makes it. Carlos is one of the guys I think this team would not exist with Atkinson at the helm. Well, I believe that's a shot at Steve. I don't know who that's a shot at. I guess Atkinson, right? Atkinson won a lot of games with less talented players than Nash has here. But Anyway, my point's not really about Atkinson. My point is about Steve Nash and how Steve Nash has not been given the credit he's due. And Carlos, I don't want to speak for you. You can certainly do that. You do that very well. I think you have said, and if I'm wrong, I apologize, that Steve Nash is not the coach of that team. I know that, well, we might be getting a comment here. Outdoors, I like it. Mac, if that's you, I love it outdoors. When three the last 4 weeks, I've been outdoors on Sunday. Can't really do it Fridays and other times, but when it's nice, I'm gonna be doing the show outdoors, and I've loved it. The 3 weeks that I've been able to do it. Last week was 45 and raining, so couldn't do it. And Mac, I know that if that's you, well, he's letting them play, but he also hasn't had the guys. I don't know how I can get my point across better. The team finished second in the East by a game, with his top 3 players playing 200 minutes together. And the coach sucks and only lets the players play? I don't think so. I think the coach has got to have something to do with this. And I know that Carlos is not a coach lover. Heat wave here I know the heat wave is here. Oh, I have tea today. In the interest of giving you way too much information, I have a colonoscopy tomorrow, so no solid food for Keith today. I can't have milk in my coffee, so I'm just having some tea, and we're staying well hydrated. Can't have anything with red dye, but I can have orange and blue Powerade. So it's getting hot here too, Carlos, but it's not too hot just yet. That's why I decided to do the show outside. I can start to feel it warming up on my back now as the sun is coming up behind me, which is why I have the umbrella down this way. But I figured it'd be okay until 11 o'clock, and then we got to head back inside probably. Got a couple things to do. Oh, I think, Carlos, you're giving Nash some credit. I think. Not positive. Mac's still here. I know Mac is not a big Steve Nash fan. So if Mac from Mac and Jack show, who commented on the Northeast Streaming Sports line there, well, he doesn't have to manage every situation. I agree, but he's had to manage a bunch of situations, though. He's had to manage all kinds of stuff. He's had to manage, again, his top 3. I'll say it again. His top 3 only playing 200 minutes together. Kevin Durant, I don't know, playing not even half the season. James Harden coming in and integrating him into the team. Kyrie Irving taking unscheduled vacations 4 times, 5 times this year. I don't know, just whenever he felt he needed a day off, a week off. And they still managed to stay the course through all of that. You're telling me that guy, I mean, I'm not saying he's a great, he should be a good X and O's guy. He's one of the greatest point guards in history. But managing people, the biggest part of coaching, and I think he's done a great job. And managing situations. But Carlos, I just said 3 stars have played, and I heard missed last night. He has 3 stars to take the load off. Those 3 stars played 200 minutes together. And his bench is solid. I agree. The team's loaded. I'm not saying it's not a good team. But I think you make my point. Well, again, you didn't make my point because you said without Kenny, if Kenny Atkinson was here, these guys wouldn't be together. I believe is your point, Carlos. So he's done solid. And it's okay. All right, fair enough. Fair enough. As long as we're not saying he's a terrible coach. And again, I know that I've had this. I've missed some of these comments. I apologize. There's even non-invasive taste testing. What are we talking about? I must have missed something, Bill. Oh, there's a non-invasive testing. It might be a bit evasive. Anyway, I'm a veteran. It's like my 6th one. Anyway, let's get off of that topic. I missed on Carlos. Yes, all right. So anyway, Steve Nash has done a good job. Not coach of the year. No. I'm not saying coach of the year. Believe me. I'm not saying coach is it's either going to be Quinn Snyder or it's going to be Monty Williams, in my mind. Monty Williams won one already. I think the coaches, the award the coaches vote on, I believe, is the one that he won. I do believe the guy you don't like will be in the top 3 as well, Carlos. I won't mention his name today. Anyway, I'm going to take the Nets over the Bucks. And if I'm going to say Philadelphia in 7 games. If Embiid is that much hampered, Atlanta will have a chance to win this series, though. So I'll hedge my bet a little bit there. And I'm going to say the Nets, with the way they've come through all this adversity and gotten cohesive in the playoffs very quickly, will be the representative from the East and play the Utah Jazz in the finals. Monty beat Tibbs. Actually, if you want to use some of your logic, Carlos, Chris Paul beat the Knicks. At least the last game I watched. Oh, God, I hated that game. Look at the Knicks. Let's talk a little about the Knicks. Knicks need a point guard. Very obvious. If I got one gripe with Tibbs, I have a lot of gripes with him in the playoffs. I don't have any gripes leading up to then. His playoff, he's had as much to do with the Knicks going out in 5 games as the players do. I agree with Carlos in this sense. But Thibodeau is the right guy for this team right now. Is he the right guy to get him a championship? Maybe not. But right now, he's the right guy. And the Knicks can't just stay pat. The fans are happy. They're upset, disappointed. I'm disappointed they lost the series, but I think the season was a resounding success. If you told me back in September they were going to go win 41 games and get to the playoffs and lose in the first round, I'd have been very happy. They need a point guard, and they may need some help at center. Your computer says no feed. What's that mean? I'm not sure what you mean there, Bill. Fire tips. I will give Carlos this much, and again, thank you, Carlos, for your unwavering support of the shows that I'm on. And you're very consistent. I will say that you don't waver. I'm the same way. Although I will say, again, I'm a big Tibbs supporter, but he did a bad job in the playoffs. He needs a point guard. Peyton's got to go. He's stuck with him, even though he played him, whatever. 7 minutes to start a game, 7 minutes to start the second half to the last 2 games where he benched him entirely. Rose can't play that many minutes. They got to bring in a point guard. The kid they signed from Europe, and I apologize, I do not know his name off the top of my head. We don't know if he's the answer. How can we possibly know? And again, the Knicks have not got a great track record with these foreign guys coming in and really contributing. Now, a guy that I like is Lillard from Portland, who's very unhappy. And if the Knicks could find a way to bring in Lillard, I think that would be tremendous pickup for this team. And maybe get them towards the top. There you go. The problem with this, though, and I keep saying Lillard. I hope I say his name right. Good grief. The problem now is that they fired Terry Stott after 9 seasons. 9 very productive seasons, by the way. Terry Stott's a good coach. I'd be shocked if he doesn't get another shot here somewhere soon. Good grief. Killing me here. And the front runners for the job are going to be Chauncey Billups and Jason Kidd, who Lillard apparently loves both of these guys. So if those guys get the job, then probably he's not. He won't come in the trade bait. Knox and Frankie again, these kids are terrible. He needs to coach the Knicks. Gary Stott needs to coach the Knicks. Again, you get on Tibbs as not being a guy who can win it all, I think, is your biggest gripe with Tibbs, Carlos, and maybe not playing kids, but Stotts is I think Stotts is kind of the same coach as Thibodeau. Really good coach. Gets some really flawed teams into the playoffs, wins around here and there, but he never won it all. Never been to the finals. Great coach. Not every coach gets to the finals or certainly wins one. Needs to coach the Knicks. I think for the Knicks, they got to address the point guard, whether it's Lonzo Ball, whether it's Lillard, or whether it's in the draft. You look at the Knicks are not in bad position here. They've got some really good players on the rise, and Randall, young guys. Still, Randall's been around a while. He's still a young guy. Randall and Barrett, and Quickly's going to be good. Maybe he's going to be playing off the bench. I don't know. I love Bullock off the bench. I love Burks off the bench, even though he went ice cold against the Hawks after the first game where he was red hot and hurt them as much as anybody. They've got some building blocks. They've got to get rid of some of the dead wood, right? But the Knicks have $60 million in cap space this next year. The Knicks have, and don't tell me about Kawhi Leonard, man. Do not bring Kawhi Leonard in here. That's a big mistake. I can see it being Carmelo Anthony 2.0. Ball movement stops. He's a black hole. So anyway, $60 million in cap space, and they got like 5 first-round picks in the next 3 years. This team has got a way to move. Yeah, I love Quickly, and Quickly. I think Quickly hit a wall this year. He played great early in the season, and he was very inconsistent the second half of the season. And his minutes diminished as he didn't play well, which I'm sure that Carlos has an issue with. But when you're fighting for a playoff spot and playoff position, you got to play the guys who are playing well. So, but I think Quickly's a big addition, or was a big addition, and will continue to be a good player. Interesting enough at power forward, Toppin's going to be, what he does and what his progress is for next year is going to be very interesting to see what they do. Now Randall may stand in his way, but Toppin had a lot of things going against him this year. The COVID situation last summer, the lack of a real training camp. He got hurt, so he started the season really injured. Didn't get a chance to play a lot. Then he got hurt again. And I'm not giving up on Toppin yet. I think he can be a major contributor to this team. So, anyway, I'm going to move on from basketball for now. I think the Knicks had a great year. Disappointed with the way it finished, but I'm not disappointed in the season. I'm just not. I think they had a great year. I haven't gotten off the Jim Behringer thing here, have I? Sorry about that, guys. That's not it either. Oh, boy. Where are we? Where's my... Can't get up to the right banner, guys. Well, maybe we'll take the banner down if I can't get there. Oh, there goes all my sheets. Hopefully I don't need that one. Don't think I do. Oh, I do. All right, so let's move on to MLB. A few stories to talk about here. Get to Drew's favorite portion. I hope you're still here, Drew, because I've got some things we'll probably want to chat about. Let's see what we got from Carlos before I move on. They have Randall Toppin good. They need a Luka type player. Well, everybody needs a Luka type player. That's for sure. I can't argue that point. Let's go on to Major League Baseball. Let's look at the scoreboard from last night quickly, if I can read it. The Tigers. God, the Tigers beat the White Sox. It seems like every Sunday I got a horrible team beating a really good team. White Sox are still one of the best teams in baseball, but they lose 4-3 to the Tigers last night. Miguel Cabrera goes 2 for 4 with a homer. And Scobal gets the win. Gallardo gets the loss. still think the White Sox are in pretty good shape. I'll give you the recap on the standings here in a second. The Reds 5-2 over the Cardinals. The Cardinals have fallen out of first place, and the surprising Chicago Cubs. The surprising Chicago Cubs are leading the Central right now, which we'll talk about in a second. Ariendo did go 3 for 4 here with 2 RBIs. The surprising India for Cincinnati at their third baseman had a home run and 2 for 3. The win went to Mao, and the loss goes to Hesley. The Astros lose to the Blue Jays 6-2. The Astros up and down, up and down, up and down. Vlad Guerrero, who's having a great year for the Blue Jays, by the way. He's lost some weight, playing some great baseball. He was 3 for 4 with a home run. Joe Panik for Toronto as well, 2 for 4 with a home run. Joe Panik is a very underrated player. Very underrated. Ross Stripling gets the win. I'm sorry. Am I right place here? Yep. Ross Stripling gets the win. And Quindy gets the loss. Well, we'll get into that in a second, Carlos. We'll get into some of that. We'll get into the Mets and the Yankees more in depth in a second. The Indians 10-4 over the Orioles. Cedric Mullins, 5 for 5, 2 home runs. This guy's been a real find for Baltimore, but there's some talk that they may look to move him. And this is a guy the Yankees should have their eye on. I can tell you right now, this guy can flat out play. Ramirez was 3 for 5 with a home run for the Indians. The Pirates, and again, the bad teams seem to win on Saturdays. They should play only Saturday games. So, they beat the Marlins, who now have lost 8 in a row. Donnie Baseball's team is falling quickly down the standings into last place in the NL East. I believe I think they're 8 games back now. And they did lose their 8th in a row last night. The Rays keep playing good baseball, win 3-0, continue to lead the American League East. They shut out the Rays 3-0. Rich Hill with a nice start last night, 5 innings and no earned runs. Margot, I can never say his name either. He had a couple RBIs last night. Good game for him. Washington loses to the Phillies. Both of these teams, I think the National League East, we'll talk about in a second, is still going to come down to the Mets and the Braves. The Phillies beat the Nationals 5-2. Nobody I really want to talk about there. The Brewers, again, another up and down team, trying to get the ship righted. Win 7-5 over the Diamondbacks, who have just fallen off the face of the earth. They'll be looking to sell guys, and there's a couple of guys there the Yankees ought to be looking at as well. Excuse me. Twins 5-4 over Kansas City. The Red Sox beat the Yankees for the second night in a row. Yankees are just atrocious, guys. Last night was the bullpen that let them down, but they still only scored 3 runs. This team's averaging 3.5 runs a game. You're not going to win any nationally in Major League Baseball scoring 3 runs a game anymore. Gleyber Torres did go 1 for 3 with a home run, and Devers was just very good. 2 home runs last night, 2 for 5. Great. He's a great stick for the Red Sox. I still worry about their pitching. The Giants 4-3 to hang close, 4-3 over the Cubs. Cubs still are in first place, I believe. Kevin Gausman been a great find for the Giants. There's been talk about the Yankees inquiring about Gausman. They're not going to trade him, not as long as they stay close to the pennant race. They're not going to do it. The Braves beat the Dodgers 6-4. Where else we got? The Angels. Excuse me. The Athletics beat the Rockies, another horrible team. There'll be some trades made there very soon. The Athletics beat them 6-3. The Angels 12-5 over the Mariners. The Mets 4-0 over the Padres. Another great performance out of Jacob deGrom last night. 7 innings, I believe. No runs. Excuse me. No runs, 11 strikeouts, if I'm not mistaken. Great job DeGrom. I mean, he's the best pitcher in baseball. I mean, him and I think Garrett Cole are 1 and 1A. That's just my opinion. Let me get. Well, I'm going to go to the standings a little bit. As I do it, I'm going to try to catch up on your guys' comments here. So let's go. Let me back up here. I got to find out where I left off here. Okay, I'm back. Billy apparently had a problem with his computer. It's probably your feed. We're still on basketball there. Still on basketball there. All right, I know Carlos had a comment about the... All right, so let's start here. Rojas, better coach, I think he means manager. It is confusing, right? Why are managers in baseball, but every other sport has coaches? Not really sure. Maybe Drew knows. Yes, he's done a great job. The Mets guys are leading that division now by 3.5 games. 7-3 in their last 10. They've had some serious injuries. They've overcome a series of injuries. Some of them serious. Conforto and McNeil, I think, are still out till the 1st of July potentially. Alonso missed some time. DeGrom missed some time. Taijuan Walker, who's been pitched great, has missed some time. Plus, you got the whole Lindor thing where he has not played up to par. And by the way, he needs to be quiet. He needs to not talk about, how the fans shouldn't be booing him. All you're going to do is get booed more. Be quiet. Don't do that. I just don't get it. But yes, the Mets have done a great job. The biggest problem for the Mets, right? They got an influx of guys coming in. They keep Walker healthy. Marcus Stroman has pitched great. If they have DeGrom, Walker, and Stroman, that's a pretty good front three, the way they've pitched so far, if they all stay healthy. Now, the big problem is they were expecting this boost by getting Syndergaard back, mid-season-ish. It's looking more and more like that may not happen. That will hurt the Mets, not only on a field, but psychologically. It'll hurt them as well, in my mind. I'm sure Drew might have some comments on that. Mets are awesome with 20 injuries, right? They're coming. Are they coming to put out your fire table? Is my fire table on fire? Oh, you heard the sirens. Sorry. No, I don't have the fire table on today, Drew. It's a little hot for that. In fact, as I knew, the last half of the show is getting a little warm on my back. But that's fine. For you guys, I will suck it up. Hal 9000, sell the Yankees to someone who wants to win. I don't think Hal doesn't want to win. I mean, just Hal Steinbrenner is not the problem. Fire Brian Cashman. I'm sure I'm probably going to go back to the Mets here, and I will. Actually, let me see if I got I think Drew's got a comment. So let me, before we get off the Mets real quick, I'll go back to that, Billy. Carrasco back eventually. Good point, Drew. I don't know how long he might be back. I want to say late this month or early July. I'm not sure. I'm sure you might be able to comment on that quickly. But yes, that's a great addition. So the Mets, again, they'll probably, who knows, they'll probably be active in the trade market, I'm sure. But even without that, when you're missing so many key guys that they're missing, and you bring them back, I mean, it's almost like making trades without making trades, which is why Syndergaard would have been a huge boost to come back at midseason. Back to the Yankees. Look, this team is a mess. I've said it from the beginning. I thought they'd make the playoffs. I don't even think they're going to make the playoffs right now, not as they're currently constructed. And this isn't Hal Steinbrenner's issue, other than the fact he continues to let Brian Cashman run this franchise abhorrently. Do they win 90, 100 games a year? Yeah, but they can't play in the playoffs. They're terrible. This year, they're not even going to make the playoffs the way they're playing. They have not adjusted to the way the game needs to be played now, with less offense in the game. They're not hitting home runs to overcome the deficiencies that have been there all along. with both the pitching staff and their lack of situational hitting and smart baseball play at a lot of times. I'm so tired of watching guys get thrown out. Gary Sanchez gets thrown out this week on a play right in front of him at third base. Judge did it a few weeks ago, makes a third out at third base, and when they're rallying, terrible baseball. Two guys are responsible for this. Cashman, number one, for putting this team together and being so thin in the outfield. And Aaron Boone. At the end of the day, the manager's got to light a fire, and he's not doing it. He's just not getting it done. Aaron Boone's going to be in trouble if they don't right this ship pretty soon. But Cashman still is the main problem. Lack of depth in the outfield. Signing pitchers that are totally an injury risk. Kluber was pitching great, yes, but again, is anybody surprised he got hurt? Now the news is he may not be out as long as they thought, or maybe he'll come back and he'll get hurt again. You can't count on Corey Kluber to pitch the entire season. I wish I could. Can't. Sanchez is still a mess. I'm not rooting against Gary Sanchez. I want Gary Sanchez to succeed. He's just not going to. Not here. Now, maybe you trade him and he blossoms somewhere else, but I'm willing to deal with that. It's funny, they brought up this kid. I know there's some comments here, and I'll get to them in just a second, guys. The guy I wanted to talk about real quick was career minor leaguer. Gosh, what the hell's his name? Bear with me while I find my bookmark here. All right, Mr. Yankees. Oh gosh. Well, I got some comments about Stanton I forgot about too. So they bring up a career minor leaguer, Chris Gittens. He's 27 years old, I believe. Never made it to the major leagues. Got no idea what we're gonna get here, right? But he's had over 1,700 plate appearances in the minor leagues and hundreds of bus rides, and he's finally getting his shot. He's got some power. He's a first baseman. I'm okay. I'm not sure how good he is defensively. Let's give him a shot. I mean, he didn't play great his first couple nights out, but we'll give him a shot. I can't count on Luke Voigt. I can't count on Stanton staying healthy. Plus, he can't hit. I mean, he sat out a week and a half, 2 weeks, and he comes back and he's in as big a slump as he was early in the year. Gonna have to make some moves. Chris Gittens will not be the answer at first. Well, I don't disagree, Drew, but he's worth a shot. Here's my opinion. Yankees have to find a way to keep Andujar in the lineup. And I don't care if it means playing Judge in center field from time to time and playing Frazier and Andujar in the outfield alongside him. I don't care if it means playing him at first base and maybe sacrificing some defense. Although Luke Voigt is no freaking Wes Parker. I'm trying to think of an old time Gold Glove first baseman. He's not. Voigt's not that over at first base. You can sacrifice a little bit. And Andujar's problems at third base were more throwing the ball than catching the ball. So no, I don't think he's the answer, but let's try to shake it up a little bit at least. They just need to bring people up. They don't have, here's another thing. They don't have a lot of guys to bring up. There's not a lot of talent right now ready to play in the major leagues. Bringing up Chris Gittens, I think is an example of that. And he's a career 265 major league hitter. And Yankees booed off the field. They should be booed off the field. I talk about bad fan behavior, right? That doesn't mean you can't boo your team. You should. The Yankees deserve to be booed. They are playing horrendous baseball on all facets right now. Garrett Cole even has pitched for Garrett Cole. I mean, he didn't pitch horribly, but for Garrett Cole, he did not pitch well the last few times out. Jacob deGrom's the only guy who can pitch with no runs all the time. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how it doesn't wear him down mentally, knowing that if he gives up one run, he's likely to not get a win or get a no decision. I will predict, by the way, going back to Jacob deGrom, I think I made that prediction on this show before. He'll go into the Hall of Fame with probably the lowest number of wins of any pitcher who was exclusively a starting pitcher in his entire career. That's not an excuse. If they're AAA, they need to be in the big leagues and get better. Well, no, you don't get better in the big leagues. You get better in AAA, then you come up and produce here. If there's not guys who can play better than the guys you got here, and I don't want Gardy playing every day in the outfield, but I got Andujar. Andujar has been sufficient defensively in left field and at first base. And if he plays every day or 5 days a week, he is going to hit line drives. He's going to hit 300, and he's going to help you. He's starting to hit the ball a lot better as he's played a lot more consistently recently. And I look at. I don't like Stanton. I'm not a big Voit fan. I don't like Sanchez. But there aren't better options for those guys in the minor leagues. There just aren't. They're going to have to bring guys in from the outside. That's just what they have to do. I mean, it's not an excuse when you say their talent in the minor leagues isn't that good. If you want to lose, Carlos, if you just want those kids to get better and write off the season, well, then I agree. Bring them up and let them play. You know, they brought Flavio or whatever the heck his name is. I think it was Flavio. They brought him up for a couple of games, right? He's not ready to play. Missed all last year. Struggled a little bit in the minor leagues. He's still one of their top-rated prospects, but you want to bring him to the major leagues now, you shouldn't be expecting to win games. Although we're not winning games now, so I don't know how much you're going to lose by not doing that. So, again, I thought I saw something new here. Sorry. Anyway, it is what it is. You know, the Yankees, and again, Carlos, you could be right. If they're not going to go to the playoffs anyway, then let some of the kids play. But then again, what are you going to do with the contracts? You got to be willing to eat the contracts. I would I would find a taker to take, whatever, 30 cents on a dollar for Stanton. I'll eat the rest of his contract. Okay. Sanchez, they lost their opportunity. They should have traded him a couple years ago. Hell, they were talking about trading for Noah Syndergaard 3 years ago. Whenever it was, I lose track of time these days. I'm on COVID time, apparently. You're never going to get anything for Gary Sanchez now. And I'm not saying the Mets would have made that trade. I'm just saying it was discussed. See what else is going on. Red Sox continue to surprise me, guys. 7-3 in the last 10. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the Rays. They're 7-3 in the last 10. I've gone into first place. The Red Sox do surprise me by hanging in there to game back. I picked this team finished last in the division. I'm going to have to pull out my notes from my show with Drew before the season started. We got to start looking at our over-unders. We'll probably do something when we get to the halfway point. What do we got right now? 60 games. So whatever, another month or so, we'll be doing a first half recap and maybe a second half do-over in some situations. But I still think, the Rays will start. I'm sorry. Yeah, the Rays have played very well, but the Blue Jays have started to play well again, up and down, 7-3. And only 5 games out of first. They've gone ahead of the Yankees now. So I still think these 4 teams are going to vie for the division and at least one of the playoff spots, probably. But the Yankees have got to right the ship quickly or it's over. Slump will end and they'll regain their mojo. We'll see. We'll see if they do. I'm not confident. We're a third of the way through the season. Yankees have scored 3.5 runs in a game, 3.7 runs a game for 1/3 of the season. That's a significant body of work. The White Sox continue to stretch their lead a little bit here in the Central. They're up 3 games now. They're playing really good baseball. Again, if Tony La Russa doesn't implode, that team may very well be the World Series representative from the American League, in my opinion. The Indians have kind of played above expectations. They are 3 games behind, but hanging in there. The Royals have rebounded a bit after a really bad stretch. They started off the season really hot. They've rebounded a little bit, and they're only 5 games back. And the Twins, who were my pick, looked like they were going to start making a little move, have now fallen 12 games behind. Not one of my better picks when we do that review show, Drew. Out west, Oakland continues to lead the Astros by 2 games. Another 4-game win streak for the A's. I got to tell you, Bob Melvin, one of the best managers like nobody knows in the major leagues. Sorry. I keep thinking I see something new pop up. Get rid of that show. All right, now I think I'll see it. Bob Melvin, one of the great, best stories, best managers that nobody knows. He's the longest tenured manager in baseball. I don't know how many people know that. Great manager. What else? Oh, Angels. Very up and down. Very disappointing so far. Let's move to the National League quickly before we run out of time. The Mets, as I said, stretch their lead to 3.5 games. The Braves starting to play a little better, and then they play a little worse. Again, 5-5 in their last 10. They win 2, lose 3, win 3, lose 2. I still think this division will be a race between the Braves and the Mets. I don't think the Phillies have enough. Washington, I think, will probably decide to trade off, which will be very interesting what they do with Scherzer. I was reading some interesting stories about the Scherzer and the Cubs here the other day myself. Oh, how do I keep getting that same thing? There's Drew. Riley's a nice story. Yes, I love that kid. Before I got in Drew's fantasy league, I got out of a league that I was in for 30 some years, an auction fantasy league. He was a guy that I got very, very early. I had him in my minor league system for years and years and years. Then he gets to the major leagues, and I got out. I don't know why that matters. And the Marlins, by the way, they're going to be trading if they got anybody to trade because they're not doing it. They can't compete in this division. Not with the Mets and the Braves, I don't think. And in the Central, I had made a mistake earlier. I said the Cubs were in first, but they're tied for first now. They were in first yesterday before their loss. The Brewers have bounced back nicely, going 8-2 in their last 10 games, probably coinciding with partly because of Christian Yelich's return and hitting the ball decently. They're now in first, tied for first, where they're languishing in third and fourth for a while. The Cardinals have fallen back to a game and a half behind. And then you got the Reds, who are hanging around 500, 2 games under right now and only 4 games back, but not playing any kind of consistent baseball. And then, of course, the Pirates, who surprisingly are only 11 games under 500. And out west, which is going to be one of the most interesting races to me. I think the American League East and the National League West will be the 2 most interesting races because of the number of teams that are going to be involved. You got 3 teams that are going to vie for the top spot here, and then most likely a wild card. And maybe both wild cards come out of the West. Right now they would easily, I think. And you got the Giants back on top again by 2 games over the Padres. And the Giants are 3 games back. Giants have played much more consistent baseball than the Dodgers, certainly, and the Padres as well. So Giants, a great, great, great story. How are we doing for time here? Damn. I got a lot of stuff I wanted to get to. I'm going to get over. not going to get into the power rankings at all. We talked about the Mets. We talked about the Yankees and Mets. Sorry, I'm going to skip that. Maybe we'll come back to it if I have time later. I do have to mention before I end the baseball portion of our show and talk a little bit about football. Yes, Dodgers are surprisingly inconsistent, and the Giants. I got to tell you, boy, every once in a while I have to pinch myself because remind myself that Gabe Kapler's the manager there and not Bruce Bochy, because Bochy was a great manager. And this wouldn't necessarily surprise me if Bruce Bochy were doing this, but this is Gabe Kapler. Anyway, I do want to talk a little bit for a few minutes about Mike Marshall's passing. Mike Marshall was, if you don't know, was a really, really good relief pitcher in the 70s. He probably pitched into the 80s. I'm not sure. I don't have his stats right in front of me, but he definitely in the 70s. He started pitching. I mean, he pitched every day. He had a kinesiology degree from Michigan State, if I'm saying it right, and if I'm remembering it right. So he knew all about the arm and all about mechanics and all about this. This guy set records for game appearances. I mean, one year with the Dodgers, he won, I think, 74. Dodgers went to the World Series and lost. But he pitched in 106 games and pitched like 220 innings out of a bullpen. Unheard of. Had like 21 saves and 15 wins. Tremendous pitcher. Did that with the Expos before for a few years. And I guess, his lifespan, like a lot of relief pitchers, especially back in that time, it was not terribly long. He was a top-notch pitcher for 6 or 7 years, maybe. I know he went to the Twins and pitched for Gene Mauch again after he left the Dodgers. But he was an interesting character. If you've read some books on the 70s, which, by the way, I'll have Dan Epstein on in a couple of Fridays from now, who's written some of the best books about the 70s. Stars and Stripes, which is the story of the 1976 baseball season, and I want to say Big Hair and Plastic Grass. I hope I'm saying that right. I could be saying it backwards. If you haven't read either of those books and you're a big fan of 70s baseball, you need to read those books. And I'm going to have Dan on, and he's got a new book out that he's co-written with Ron Bloomberg called The Captain and Me, which is the story of Ron Bloomberg and Thurman Munson's relationship with the Yankees. Iron Mike, right. Iron Mike, I got to tell you, Mike Marshall, again, to get back to him, he was an interesting character, again, a bit quirky, but he knew the ins and outs of the arm, the pitching arm, better than any pitcher who ever played, and maybe better than any pitching coach or any doctor. But interestingly enough, and probably because of his personality and his quirkiness, he never was able to stick in baseball after he retired. And you would have thought a guy like him would have been a great pitching coach. But I think he was a bit, just a bit, not straight baseball. Oh gosh, I don't know how to put it. Just too quirky for the lords of baseball, right? Who run the show. So again, we're sorry to hear about the passing of Mike Marshall, and our thoughts and prayers go out to him. Yeah, I'm sorry. Our prayers go out to him and his family, I guess. Couple of notes in the NFL. I don't have a lot of time to cover a lot of this stuff, so I'm going to just touch on it quickly. More, Mark Murphy, the president of the Packers, has said that the Aaron Rodgers issue has caused a divide in Packer Nation. Half the fans want him, half the fans don't. The Packers are sticking firm, which I'm very happy about, that they're not going to trade him. Now, that could be just a ploy, but we'll see how that works out. If I'm the Packers, I let him sit. Don't pay him his money. Let him go home. This will give Rick a chance to speak out a little bit. So anyway, it's still it's a huge distraction in Packerland, and I hope that Aaron Rodgers really realizes what he's going to have a tough time if he decides to come back now. That's the problem. if Mark Murphy's comments are right, half the fan base will be booing Aaron Rodgers when he comes back. Rick talks about the Vikings continue to retool their defense by adding Breland. Again, nice move. Zim did get a COVID pass last year, and I think the Vikings will be one of the most interesting stories of the upcoming season. We'll be talking a lot more about the NFL. I can't get too excited with the voluntary OTAs, playing 7-on-7. There's no pass rushes, whatever. Josh McDaniels raving about Cam Newton. Don't care. Cam Newton hurt his hand the other day. Seems to be okay. Don't care. It's just we don't have a lot of there's just not a lot of real news to talk about yet in the NFL. We'll have it soon enough. It's going to be training camp here in another month or so, right? So all right. What else we got to talk about? We got the Belmont yesterday. Won by Essential Quality, trained by Brian Cox and ridden by Luis Ciaz. He was a favorite. He was also a betting favorite in the Derby and finished fourth, by the way. But he did win, and it's probably a good thing that Medina Spirit did not win the Preakness a few weeks back, because this whole week would have been a zoo with the Bob Baffert story. And Baffert's been suspended by now Churchill Downs, cannot race, cannot train, cannot board any of his horses there for 2 years. Naira's also done the same thing. I'm not sure if there's a time limit. It's indefinite with Naira, and it's only a matter of time maybe before the shoe falls and Medina Spirit is stripped of that Kentucky Derby win, which is unfortunate, but that's what happens. So hang on one second, Bill. All right. Medina Spirit getting pulled down, not yet, but we'll see. How many times did you put that up, Bill? Oops. Going out to Mo. Say cool. Have a great day to Mo, Drew. Jeez, what's wrong with you? Anyway. So anyway, it's kind of a good thing that the Belmont did not have to deal with that whole thing. I'm glad Medina Spirit did not win the Preakness, because it would have been a disaster for the sport. This is already a dirty enough. I love horse racing. I love the big races. I don't talk a lot about it here because I know there's not a lot of racing fans out there, but a lot of fans follow the big races. This would have been a horrible black eye for horse racing. It already is a horrible black eye for horse racing, but it would have been even worse if Medina Spirit had won the Triple Crown and then was taken down from the Derby. Quick draw. So anyway, that's that. Well, here's a note I'd love to talk about, but I can't read my writing at all. The Memorial. John Rahm forced withdrawal from the Memorial Golf Tournament this weekend because he tested positive for COVID during the round. So it's still out there, guys. Be careful. We're all getting back out there, leading our lives, having some fun. I am. I wear my mask where I don't feel safe. I don't wear my mask where I do. But it's still something to be aware of and be careful of. So it's unfortunate for the Memorial Golf Tournament that the leader of the tournament now will not be playing this weekend because he's been removed because of a positive COVID test. And Coach K retires. Is going to retire after the coming season. Mike Krzyzewski, the coach of Duke since 1980. I did a vlog on this Friday. A lot of guys hate Duke. A lot of guys probably hate Coach K. I don't know why. Again, it's another reason I just don't get. No major cheating scandals that I can think of at Duke while Coach K's been there. 5 national championships, 12 trips to the Final Four, tying John Wooden. He's got a chance to break that record this year. And he's developed a lot of good people. Who's come out of that? Who's come out of Duke with a bad reputation and gotten into a lot of trouble? Anybody? And again, winning, being a coach at Division I basketball, your job is to win. But your job as a coach in any level is still to develop good people, good men or women. Oh, sorry. Thought I had something new, right? So Coach K, nobody, and his legacy is not going to be the winningest coach in college basketball history. And college basketball starting to lose, and this will happen. This happens in cycles where you lose some great coaches. We lost Roy Williams. When I say lost them, they retired. Roy Williams this coming year. We're going to lose Coach K after next year. Jim Boeheim, 76 years old, can't go on forever. You are not going to see guys like Mike Krzyzewski. Isn't it amazing I can say Krzyzewski fine, but I can't say some of these other names? It's kind of interesting, right? Mike Krzyzewski, Jim Boeheim, spending 40 years plus. Boeheim's got 50 years at Syracuse as assistant and a head coach. You're not going to see this again. It's never going to happen, that kind of longevity. It'll never happen. Never. Whether it's because of the money they're going to make or it's because of cheating scandals. But you haven't heard this happen with Mike Krzyzewski. I don't know why people hate Duke. They hate winners is what the problem is. And we don't like winners. And do they have some bad acts? Yeah, Christian Laettner, maybe. Again, we're talking about sportsmanship, and Christian Laettner, might have stepped on some guys and give them a little kick and whatever. Great player, great college player. Mike Krzyzewski coached a lot of great college players. Not a lot of great pros, interestingly enough, but great college players. And his job isn't to develop people for the NBA, no matter what people think. There's programs out there that maybe that's their main focus. Kentucky and John Calipari. That's not Coach K's main focus. His main focus was to develop really good college athletes, teach them how to win, teach them how to lose, which is important in sports, by the way, guys, and turn them into good human beings and win games. Teaching kids how to lose is as important as how to teach them how to win. I won't get on the whole participation trophy thing now because I don't have time for it, but sports is a great learning ground for young men and women to learn about life and the thing that life isn't always going to go your way. And you're going to win a lot, but you're going to lose some too. And you got to accept that. Life isn't easy. Life is hard. That's why sports is such a great learning ground, teaching ground for that. That's why I love sports so much. Respect the K. I agree. Great coach. Great job. Kudos to Coach K. I know you're not gone yet. Going to coach one more year. I'll be rooting for you next year, Coach, to have a great year, to get to that 13th Final Four and break John Wooden's record. Again, Coach K, no scandals, guys. Name one major scandal you can think of for Duke basketball. I can't. All these other great coaches have them. Boeheim had some. Not huge things, but he had some. Bill Self's caught up in this whole FBI investigation. Miller out in Arizona. Gosh, guys, it's and John Wooden, by the way, as great a coach, and I love Coach Wooden. I use a lot of his principles in my job in real life. I said this in my vlog. But John Wooden and UCLA was not a squeaky clean organization or program, by the way. They had a major contributor named Sam Gilbert, who there was probably a lot of money being passed around. And then back in those days, it just wasn't being looked at the same way it is today. So, again, I don't want to take anything away from John Wooden, but there's a reason all those great guys, there's multiple reasons why all those great players were going out to UCLA, and he had the kind of success that he had. So Billy says, respect the K. Guys, that's it. I'm done, and I'm hot. It is hot here right now. Got to tell you. Oh. That wasn't me screaming, I promise. Oh, guys, I can't find my music. Oh, Check it out. There we go. Wow. Technical difficulties. Guys, I appreciate having you all with me today. Love the comments. Love the back and forth. Thanks to Jim Behringer from The Last Word on Hockey. Thanks to all the groups that allowed me to share this to later. We had a great conversation, I think. Fun day. And I will tell you, we'll be back next Sunday with our Stream of Consciousness. Thanks, Billy. Always love your comments, and we have a lot of fun. We're going to put that happy hour together. I'm working on a guest for next Friday, as I said. I'll let you guys know when I hear something. If not, I'll have to put something together on my own. And in a couple weeks on Friday, Dan Epstein, as I mentioned. Look him up. If you like 70s baseball, get the 2 books I mentioned. We'll talk more about it soon. Right here on TGI Sports Talk with Keith Engel on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. See you later, guys. Have a great day.